Hello, Hare Krishna. My name is Jwalamukhi Devidasi, and I am continuing my three-part series called Evil Agenda. This is number 3, the video on Hridayananda Das, or Howard Resnick's recent activities at the Alachua New Ramanreti Temple. Now, I had scripted the other 2, and this third one I am going to just kind of wing it because it's very difficult to put your finger on exactly an objectionable statement that he makes, although there are very many. And the reason I say that is because he's a very, very intelligent man who uses his intellect in a way that leads to confusion about what the head and the ears are hearing and what the heart knows to be true. Something's wrong. It's not right. So many people in our ISKCON society right now, or in the ISKCON society right now, because right now I can't be a part of it. In fact, I'm banned. And I like it that way because I don't want to be complicit. I don't want to be compliant with what's going on there. But so many people are finding out about the horrific abuse of the children that went on and is still being covered up, and how many are coming forward with their stories, and how the authorities are still trying to make excuses or cover up for. And people are wondering what's happening, what's going on. But Krishna's timing is perfect. Everyone who is sincere will get the results of their sincere prayers. And our sincere prayer has been, my dear Lord, even though we can cry tears of compassion for these errant souls who have hurt us so grievously, who have abused us so grievously, please, for the sake of the truth being known, let them be caught with their pants down so that everyone can really know who's who. And I'm paraphrasing here, but there's a very powerful quote by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur where he says that after the time of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, those who were faithful to him remained separate from the non-devotees. And seeing this, Kali sent his most empowered agents, and so expert did they appear in their dress and in their devotion that only the pure devotees could tell who they were. So it's no one's fault that we have not been able to ascertain who's who, because Kali is very powerful. He's an empowered agency of Krishna, and he has a thankless task that he performs. And yet we who want the real thing have to be vigilant and make differentiations between what is charisma and what is real empowerment. And so back to what happened recently, again, I am banned from the temple. I don't go. I'm happy about that. We have weekly programs or bi-weekly programs where we celebrate all of the festivals, and I feel no lack. In fact, I am so grateful to be surrounded by like-minded devotees who just want purity in their lives, and that's all. But sometimes I hear things that come from the temple. And so recently we were hearing again that he had given a lecture wherein he was minimizing Hridayananda. Was after some lecture, the mic was still on, and he was minimizing Srila Prabhupada. And I don't even want to repeat his statements. They were so offensive. But again, you can go online and listen to those lectures if you have the stomach for it and find out what he really said there. But in essence, he was trying to present Srila Prabhupada as a conditioned soul, as a person who makes mistakes, and that, you know, he's so advanced that he doesn't need Prabhupada to be a, you know, perfect person to know that he was a pure devotee. But what is he doing there? He's actually instilling doubt in the hearts, and he's criticizing those who are holding on to Srila Prabhupada's lotus feet for dear life. And he's trying to create a wedge as if being all about Srila Prabhupada is somehow a bad thing, and that we should instead inform our devotional service through Sanskrit nuances and progressive ideas like, you know, Krishna West. As far as we're concerned, Krishna West already happened. Srila Prabhupada brought Krishna consciousness to the West. If Professor Howard Resnick wants to improve on what Srila Prabhupada gave, he is simply exposing himself as Dr. Frog, unintelligent, and envious. So I've written a few statements here. I will read them, and then I will read some quotes from Chaitanya Charitamrita and Srimad Bhagavatam and conclude the three-part series of Evil Agenda. Concerning Professor Howard Resnick, he is exposing his over-intelligence. In many places, Srila Prabhupada condemns what he calls over-intelligence. If your gut feels sick when you hear him, don't think that you are being offensive due to your cognitive dissonance. There is something wrong. Again, what Srila Prabhupada says about overintelligence is this. In a letter to Madan Mohan Mohini, Bhaktivedanta Manor, Madana Mohini. I'm sorry, I misread that. Letter to Madan Mohan Mohini. I did read it right. Bhaktivedanta Manor, 19 of August, 1973. Please accept my blessings. I beg to acknowledge receipt of your letter dated August 13th, 1973. I thank you very much for your kind sentiments. And here it is. To be a fool before the spiritual master is a very good qualification. It is not a good qualification to be over-intelligent before the spiritual master. Even Lord Chaitanya presented himself as a fool before his spiritual master. There is no need to misinterpret or find fault, to quote, improve or modify what Srila Prabhupada gave us or try to step on his head. We need only adopt the mood of humble servants and receive what he gave us in both his mood and his teachings. That is real intelligence. Srila Prabhupada is a pure devotee. Srila Prabhupada's opinions on any subject matter, either material or spiritual, therefore, necessarily reflect his purity of vision. He is directly in constant and perfect communication with Supersoul. He is not to be seen as an ordinary man ever. His dealings in the material world are exemplary. Anyone serious about getting out of the material world must take his precepts and opinions as Shastra. That is the mood of the properly situated follower and disciple of Srila Prabhupada. But Hridayananda Das, or Professor Howard Resnick, talks out both sides of his mouth. He both glorifies Srila Prabhupada and then minimizes him. Basically, what it does is it shakes people so that they doubt themselves. Did he glorify Srila Prabhupada, or did he just say something really offensive? That he flops this way, he flops that way, and what it does is it instills doubt. But one thing you're really sure about is, wow, he's so intelligent. Did I really understand him properly? And now you no longer have your faith in Srila Prabhupada, or at least there's a chink of doubt there. He gives arguments and counter-arguments and leaves one feeling like, where's the floor? He lacks transparency. Srila Prabhupada gave him so many opportunities to take good instruction, but what has he done? He has taken everything in another way. His intelligence is many-branched and bifurcated. On one side, glorifying the spiritual master, and on the other side, speaking envious interpretations of his words. And what's really awful about this is that there are so many sincere people coming to find relief from the material world. They're coming to the Krishna house, they're coming from all over the place, and they find somebody who's so learned in Shastra, and they think, oh, wow, this is it, we're going to hear. But they're younger, they're newer, they're more gullible, and he has them criticize and doubt the older Srila Prabhupada disciples, people who mockingly call them Prabhupada fundamentalists, or people who are all about Prabhupada. He has them see them as less than, as somehow archaic or old dinosaurs. And that the real way to be Krishna conscious is, the cutting edge of, interpreting Shastra according to this way or that way, and wearing khaki pants, or doing this or that, or, like as if he was improving on Srila Prabhupada's message, when in fact, quite the opposite is the fact. So this is a very manipulative strategy. And I want all of you out there who know that something is wrong, like when you feel it in your gut, don't think that just because it has a stamp of approval by ISKCON authorities that somebody is a sannyasi, that they should be offered that respect when they're not acting like a sannyasi. I mean, recently there was a, this online expose of all the child abuse that is going on, and what's happening with Bhakti Vijayapurna's so-called Swami, and how all of those horrible truths are coming out. And then some other sannyasi commented, oh, well, if he's removed, then I can't provide, he's a sannyasi, and, yes, abuse is bad, but also abuse of a sannyasi is bad. And I can't support this financially. And I'm just shocked. I'm just like, what has happened? What has happened? A sannyasi means completely surrendered with body, mind, and words. If somebody is abusing another human being, a child, a woman, they're not a sannyasi. They're a Kali Chela. They're an agent of Kali within our midst. They are not a sannyasi and should be given no respect. And that is another reason why I'm calling them by their legal names, because I feel so disturbed that these beautiful names are being so disrespected by their envious activities. And I feel that they should be called by their secular names, because that's what they are. That's what they've become, just ordinary. And so, and then the other part of that was that, I can't financially support this, right? What is a sannyasi doing with finances? It's become an ecclesiastical position. It's not actually the right way of going about Vedic culture. And all of this is going on, and sincere and honest devotees want to be able to believe. They want to be able to go to the temple. They want to have a spiritual life. They want to have a community. And now what's happening is the avalanche of the facade crumbling is happening. And I'm making these videos to give people, sincere people, faith that the mission of Srila Prabhupada is alive and well, but the organization is being exposed for the immense infiltration that has happened. And I don't want you to throw the baby out with the bathwater or become confused or have any doubt whatsoever in Srila Prabhupada and his words, because that is your lifeline back home, back to Godhead. And there are many sincere devotees who are qualified to give you shelter, Srila Prabhupada disciples, but you have to trust your connection with his divine grace and step up and cast out anything that is of lower vibration that doesn't serve you if you've gone off track. So, and what we do is we come together on a weekly basis and we just chant Hare Krishna, so simple. And we read from Srila Prabhupada's books, and that nourishes us so deeply. And there are those of us who have taken initiation, and it works. It actually works. Transcendental realization is going on. It is alive and well. And you can do that in your own little pockets of community. You can take part in the Daivi Varnashram. And you need to understand that this organization is no longer the body of Srila Prabhupada. It's disease, just like a cancer patient. If the cancer spreads, the soul leaves the body. Don't be sentimentally attached to a power structure that has become demonic. So what I heard last week was that Hridayananda, Howard Resnick, had given some lecture wherein he essentially stated that Srila Prabhupada's books didn't really do that much, and or it's not always appropriate to distribute his books and do Harinam Sankirtan. And it's like, wait a minute, what? So I was really pleased to hear that the temple president actually banned him from giving class for a year. And I thought that was a great use of her banning propensity. So kudos on you. Thank you for that. And I wanted to say that Krishna is always guiding us. So we're talking about these things happening. How are we going to carry on this movement? How are we going to get this message out? How are we going to inspire those of you who may be feeling challenged right now with all the truths that are coming out? How are we going to inspire you to continue your devotional service? So Krishna is always present, and he speaks to us through Srila Prabhupada's book. So we were reading on Wednesday this wonderful purport, which I'm going to share with you in conclusion. But before that, a very relevant, one of my very favorite parts of Srimad Bhagavatam is the introduction, or the preface actually. And here it says, human society at the present moment is not in the darkness of oblivion. It has made rapid progress in the field of material comforts, education, and economic development throughout the entire world. But there is a pinprick somewhere in the society at large. And therefore, there are large-scale quarrels even over less important issues. There is need of a clue as how humanity can become one in peace, friendship, and prosperity with a common cause. Srimad Bhagavatam will fill this need, for it is a cultural presentation for the re-spiritualization of the entire human society. Don't tell me that it is ever inappropriate to distribute Srila Prabhupada's books. In fact, it's the only need that the society has, is to have one of Srila Prabhupada's books in their hand with examples of the living, breathing, walking devotees of the Lord who have become Bhagavatas, who know the truth beyond a shadow of a doubt, who take their authority from Srila Prabhupada's mood and carry on his mission in that way. Srimad Bhagavatam should be introduced also in the schools and colleges, for it is recommended by the great student devotee Prahlad Maharaj in order to change the demonic face of the society. We have to change the demonic face of the society, and it's not going to happen if we're sitting and listening to demons give class and minimize Srila Prabhupada and try to destroy everything that he gave us. Disparity in human society is due to lack of principles and a godless civilization. There is God, or one Almighty, from whom everything emanates, by whom everything is maintained, and in whom everything is merged to rest. Material science has tried to find the ultimate source of creation very insufficiently, but it is a fact that there is one ultimate source of everything that be. And this ultimate source is explained rationally and authoritatively in the beautiful Bhagavatam, or Srimad Bhagavatam. And it ends, the preface, I'm skipping some parts, it ends here. And I'm going to address this to Professor Howard Resnick and to Bob Cohen. It's Srimad Bhagavatam 1.5.11. On the other hand, that literature, which is full with descriptions of the transcendental glories of the name, fame, form, and pastimes of the unlimited Supreme Lord, is a transcendental creation meant to bring about a revolution in the impious life of a misdirected civilization. Such transcendental literatures, even though irregularly composed, are heard, sung, and accepted by purified men who are thoroughly honest. By purified men who are thoroughly honest. Therefore, there is no need for Mr. Bob Cohen, Brahmatirtha Das, Hridayananda, Mr. Howard Resnick, to ever give a class on Srimad Bhagavatam again. I will end with a very uplifting purport by Srila Prabhupada, where he speaks about Acharya Dev. This is from Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila, chapter 1, text 46, I believe, text 146. One should know the Acharya as myself and never disrespect him in any way. One should not envy him, thinking him an ordinary man, for he is the representative of all the demigods. This is a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 11.17.27, spoken by Lord Krishna when he was questioned by Uddhava regarding the 4 social and spiritual orders of society. He was specifically instructing how a brahmachari should behave under the care of a spiritual master. A spiritual master is not an enjoyer of facilities offered by his disciples. He is like a parent. Without the attentive service of his parents, a child cannot grow to manhood. Similarly, without the care of the spiritual master, one cannot rise to the plane of transcendental service. The spiritual master is also called Acharya, or a transcendental professor of a spiritual science. The Manu Samhita 2.140 explains the duties of an Acharya, describing that a bona fide spiritual master accepts charge of disciples, teaches them the Vedic knowledge with all of its intricacies, and gives them their second birth. The ceremony performed to initiate a disciple into the study of spiritual science is called Upaniti, or the function that brings one nearer to the spiritual master. One who cannot be brought nearer to a spiritual master cannot have a sacred thread, and thus is indicated to be a Shudra. The sacred thread on the body of a Brahmana, Kshatriya, or Vaishya is a symbol of initiation by the spiritual master. It is worth nothing if worn merely to boast of high parentage. The duty of the spiritual master is to initiate a disciple with the sacred thread ceremony, and after this samskar, or purificatory process, the spiritual master actually begins to teach the disciple about the Vedas. A person born a Shudra is not barred from such spiritual initiation, provided he is approved by the spiritual master, who is duly authorized to award a disciple the right to be a Brahmana, if he finds him perfectly qualified. In the Vayu Purana, an Acharya is defined as one who knows the import of all Vedic literatures, explains the purpose of the Vedas, abides by their rules and regulations, and teaches his disciples to act in the same way. Only out of his immense compassion does the Supreme Personality of Godhead reveal himself as the spiritual master. Therefore, in the dealings of an Acharya, there are no activities but those of transcendental loving service to the Lord. He is the Supreme Personality of Servitor Godhead. It is worthwhile to take shelter of such a steady devotee, who is called Ashraya Vigraha, or the manifestation or form of the Lord, of whom one must take shelter. If one poses himself as an Acharya, but does not have an attitude of servitorship to the Lord, he must be considered an offender. And this offensive attitude disqualifies him from being an Acharya. The bona fide spiritual master also engages in unalloyed devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. By this test, he is known to be a direct manifestation of the Lord and a genuine representative of Sri Nityananda Prabhu. Such a spiritual master is known as Acharya Dev. And I have to say, when we read this purport, I just busted out laughing because, you know, these Kali Chelas, these so-called disciples of Srila Prabhupada, gave themselves very important names. And this whole purport is describing what is an Acharya, what is a spiritual master. Such a spiritual master is known Acharya Dev, completely surrendered to Krishna with no false ego, no hidden agenda, not an imposter who tries to mislead and minimize and then bring glory onto himself with his dazzling intellect misused. Influenced by an envious temperament and dissatisfied because of an attitude of sense gratification, mundaners criticize a real Acharya. In fact, however, bona fide Acharya is non-different from the personality of Godhead, and therefore to envy such an Acharya is to envy the personality of Godhead himself. This will produce an effect subversive to transcendental realization. So this purport continues, but it is well worth reading. Adi Leela chapter 1, text 46 through, I think it was like 48. The instructions given there are so nectarian, and they fill the heart with complete confidence in the guidance given by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. So this has been my 3-part series called Evil Agenda. I hope that it has brought encouragement to your heart and empowerment to your own transformations in accepting the responsibility at this time in history to completely purify your existence of anything that may be out of line, and to step up, take Srila Prabhupada's books, give them to as many lost and conditioned souls as you can, and more importantly, take to the process yourself in such a way that you become a self-effulgent light, because people need that in this time of darkness. Again, thank you for listening. This is Jwalamukhi Devi Dasi. Hare Krishna.